Welcome, Walnut. I'm Lara, but you can call me Laz, your host for Walnut Wednesday. This is your reminder to be brave, be yourself, and know that you can make the world a better place just by what you decide today. Here, I'm going to share my weekly walnuttings with you on a Wednesday. Hey Walnut, it is me, Laz, here for another episode of Walnut Wednesday, and I am so excited this week to bring you my beautiful friend and delicious banana, and this has been like a bucket list interview of mine for so long, for a good couple years. Kasia, welcome. Hello.
Oh, thank you, Lara. So beautiful to have you for the next half hour, but be on your podcast. I'm delighted. Thank you.
Oh, it's like you've just been on my list for quite a while. So Walnut, Kasia works a lot with spirit, the Akashic Records, your intuition, all of those delicious woo-woo things that we love to chat about on the podcast. So naturally, I've got her here so I can ask her all the things for us. But Kasia, I'll get you to please introduce yourself to the Walnuts who have never met you before, please.
Okay, so so do I start? Well, I guess I don't really know how to define myself or my work. I feel like there's so many different labels, and it's really hard to kind of put yourself into a box and like I'm this, I'm that.
Yeah.
But perhaps if I share what I do in a bit more detail, and that might maybe paint the picture. So I work predominantly with the Akashic Records, and through the Akashic Records, I help other souls, I guess, to remember that they can connect. They've got intuitive abilities, and to kind of help them bridge the gap between being human, having this human experience, but remembering that we are so much more. We're this epic, limitless soul. So we can naturally do more than just what our human self is led to believe, right? Over this human life. And it started with me, I guess, with past lives a few years ago now. And looking back now, I can say, okay, I started tapping into the Akashic Records, but I've never heard of them. I didn't know. I've never, intentionally gone in. And then if we go back, a little bit back, perhaps to my teenage years, I grew up with a mum and a grandmother who were very much into like tarot, horoscopes, pendulums, energy. But it was all very in-house, very hush-hush. So they never did anything for any clients as far as I can remember. I had my own little tarot deck, which I just assumed, and I think I was right. I think all of us girls at some point, maybe even boys, as we're growing up, had tarots come through somewhere. But I just thought it's normal. Like my mom, my grandma, that's what grown-ups do, right? Crazy ladies. And so they play with pendulums. But the one thing my mom and my grandmother said is I can't take the tarot out. And that's probably because I was growing up in a country that is predominantly Catholic. And so even though my family wasn't so much, there was still that stigma, it's not safe. So, so with tarot, I think when things started to happen for me, where I thought I'm making things up because of course I took the tarot to school and I started reading, and for a kid that never fitted in, that was always the outsider, that was always, because we moved around, was always the outcast. All of a sudden I was getting my teeny tiny moment in the spotlight, and so I was doing readings for girls, and then things were coming true, and I thought I'm making things up here. So in my head, I'm like, I think I jinxed them. And that's why things are coming. So when it's great. But when not so good things were coming true, I'm like, oh, I think that's me. So somewhere around the age of 19, I decided, oh, this is too scary. We're shutting it down. And especially when this was after my mum mom passed away as well, it just didn't, I feel like I held on to tarot because it was my connection to my mom. And even as things were not so good happening, I just held on to it. I need to put a little side note here for anyone that is perhaps thinking of exploring tarot. It's not the tarot that brought things on, and it wasn't me, but any trained tarot reader. And this is where I would say go and learn from someone, because you will learn how to filter information and how to, like with any reading, we don't want to do harm. So you don't need to bring through everything. But as this teenager, he was just kind of so open, I think, as a channel. I was just bringing through everything. There was no protection. There was no like, who am I connecting with? I was just like, this is what it is.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to say this because tarot is absolutely safe. You're absolutely safe channeling, but I do recommend just working with someone who can tell you, and this is what it's tarot or mediumship, you know, these are the guidelines. This is what we say. This is what we don't say. This is how you disconnect. You know, that's really, really important. So I think it took my whole adult life, 3 children, the interesting situation that we had 2020 to kind of shake me up again and go like, no, this is what you're meant to be doing.
Yeah.
And it came through past lives, which was so crazy to me. So crazy. So that's me in a tiny nutshell.
Oh, I love you in all the nutshells. And I was told by my teacher that the tarot is also like tarot decks can be like portals. So there's like all the practices on where you keep them and things like that, which is, it's totally at your discretion and what feels the safest for you as well. But what do you think about that? The way that I kind of picture it is that because tarot is so well known, it's actually just got a lot of energy put into it, and people using it, that makes the tarot seem more powerful than say like an oracle deck. And I kind of like to use that. Like I've got the Rebecca Campbell Work Your Light one, which lots of people have too, and I feel a stronger connection with that one than sort of like a moon deck or something, like a normal, not a normal, but just an oracle deck.
I know it's not the one that you have. I've got that one, but I thought, oh, I'm just gonna bring this and have it next to me here. And then you mentioned this, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna share.
Yeah, I feel like her decks are like mine's here, more well known, and so I feel like sometimes there is a little bit more, because there are a lot of more people using them, there is more energy in them, and I feel like that's like what it is with the tarot, and that's why sometimes people sort of say like, oh, they're bad and they have all these woes, but I think it's because it's a collective energy that's actually put into the specific cards, if that makes sense.
I absolutely agree. Yeah, I agree. And I want to add, I think, to that as well, that when we look at these cards or tarot cards or anything, I mean, really, it is just cardboard, right? Like this is cardboard. It's nothing. It's your intention. It's very much like with money. Money itself, that's just paper or plastic, like in Australia. But it's the meaning, the intention that we tie up to it, which is the same with the cards. That makes all the difference. So perhaps with tarot, people are scared because there are some pictures that initially, if you're flicking through, like, oh God, we've got death, we've got the devil, you know, but they're actually positive cards. And I think, like, I choose to never read them upside down, but I know there's professional tarot readers who decide, no, you have to read the upside down and the normal one. But I don't. I treat my tarot as, if I'm doing a reading, I will use the tarot because sometimes my client is not connected as much as I am. And especially if it's a session that I'm doing for them. So tarot becomes like this Pictionary, and I'm like, yeah, this is what my guides are showing me. This is the picture. Let's unravel it. So I look at tarot more like that, like these little prompt cards that my guides give me. I'm even gonna take it a step further and say, you know, the Ouija boards that everyone says stay away from them. I feel like if you sit with your beautiful friends around it, having you know, delicious sweet tea, no alcohol, you know, and you're not thinking, ooh, let's tap into some sinister spirits. We just want to kind of connect. And you call in the right guides, that little piece of wood or whatever is going to connect you to the right people. But because it has been popularized as this tool that connects you to bad spirits, bad portals, this little piece of wood is now the symbol of all evil, you know, when it comes to the spirit world. But it's really just a board, and it's the intention. So we're always safe when we sit in positive intention.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. It was a tangent I didn't plan to discuss with you, but I just find that really, really interesting. Can you tell the Walnuts listening who have obviously have talked about it many times, but the Akashic Records, how would you describe what that is and connecting to it and what that sort of means if someone had never heard of it ever before?
Sure. So, Lara, I see it as, or I would describe it in two ways. For people who need a visual, I would say it's a cosmic library that we get to go in, and you get to pull a book about you in this life, you in previous lifetimes, and you in future lifetimes. But also you can pull a book on other topics. But for those that have a bigger awareness and don't need the visual, I would say it's an energetic field that we tap into that contains information about every being, everything, even like the house, you know, every house has its own Akashic record, animals, anything. So we can shift our awareness, tap into this energetic field, and receive information, which to me is like a manual that we get to tap in to kind of understand, like, how do we navigate through this life again? Like, what does this mean? What do I do here? Why is this person like this?
Yeah.
It's like the manual. That's what I would say.
I love it. I love it. I love hearing different descriptions of it. My really, really good friend Amy, she uses the Akashic Records quite a lot with her work, and she kind of described it. I can't remember if it was on Walnut Wednesday or not, but as like Wi-Fi. You can't see it. It's not an actual thing, but you can pull information and data and connection from it. It's just this non-tangible thing. So thank you for that description.
I love that description.
Kasia, I would love to talk about coming out as an intuitive person. Like, you know how they say coming out of the spiritual closet or whatever, like that to me is a brave task. That to me is a walnutting saying, hi, I'm the crazy card lady with the crystals in her bra. Like, you know, some people, normal 3D, not normal, but you know, 3D muggles are like, what the hell? She sounds crazy. How do you have a sort of coming out story of being who you are and being in service the way you are?
I don't know if I have an epic story that would inspire anyone or do anything like that, but my story really is there was my life before this awakening, and there is after. And the one before, I would say I was very much asleep. I was the kind of person who was very surface level. Now, things happened in my life as well, and some were extremely sad, some were traumatic. But I kind of always said, oh, well, this happened to me, or, you know, my family was like this, and see, I turned out fine. I'm normal, you know, like those.
Yeah.
And I had a very close family member, and she was another level above me, to like just no talking about feelings. She's just go, 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 you know.
Yeah.
And she, around the same time when I had my awakening, I would say she had her awakening, but she took her awakening to a psychologist who said, well, it's because your dad or your brother or someone or this happened to you. Whereas I started to unravel, and I started to see that working with spirit is going to heal all that. But to answer the question of coming out of the closet, it was kind of really hard initially, because I'm someone who used to have in the past projects. Like I would get bored with something, and then I would decide I am now an eyelash stylist.
Yeah.
And then like a few years later, no, I now create my own slow fashion label or whatever, or I'm a business coach, you know. And so I had to actually stop and think about, do I want to announce this, or is this like when we're pregnant, the first 3 months we don't tell anyone, and we kind of want to be with this little secret and feel into it and allow it to grow. And it wasn't that I was scared coming out and saying, hey, I'm that crazy lady with the crystals in my bra. It was more just, for me, it was more, will people now think, oh, here we go again, she's got another project. Yeah, we can't take her serious because she will change her mind in a few months. So I really had to sit with it for that reason. And I think initially I decided it's too hard, because now I don't know. So at that time I was a coach for actually lash stylists, like helping them grow their business. And I'm like, well, I'm seeing these past lives. I am going somewhere. I'm seeing faces in my meditations. What is happening? How can I incorporate this into this? And so I actually confided in a beautiful friend that I love so much. We have never met. She lives across the world, but we connected on the internet. And she told me, I'm sorry, but she was the first one that I told. She said, my beliefs, she's Christian, I can't remember what branch of Christianity, but she said, my beliefs don't allow me to support you. It goes against everything that we believe. So I can't support you in this. And I'm sorry. And initially, when I heard this, I was devastated. I was like, oh my God, this is my first attempt to kind of go and say, hey, I'm coming out of the closet. Do you have my back? And I heard this. So I was crushed. But months later, when I re-listened, I felt like my energy must have been different now, because I could see that actually, well, she was being honest. She stood up for her beliefs. She didn't try to sugarcoat this experience for me to make the blow easier. And I have a lot of respect for that. Our friendship has kind of grown apart, but I feel like it's also, we kind of lost touch because she went to do other things. But it took me a while after that to actually tell anyone else. And I think because I had a good sisterhood of women around me who we're all trying to work out, like, you know, like a mastermind kind of thing. So we were all there for the same purpose. And that helped me, because their encouragement, they're like, you don't have to figure it out. Just go and tell, like us, you know, tell someone. And I think, it just started happening. I started having sessions. It was so bizarre, Lara. I can't even remember the exact steps, but I was kind of like, when I decided, okay, that's what I'm doing, it took a life of its own. And yes, I have lost family and friends in the process, but also when I came out with this, it was a challenging time anyway, and families were falling apart over other reasons. So I feel like the air was thick as it is, and I just added a little bit more oil to the fire with this. but I feel like it was good because it allowed me to see who my people are and who perhaps we have grown apart and our paths need to,
Totally.
yeah. I don't know if that answers
Yeah.
the question.
No, it does. And that happens. And I think it takes a little bit of living through the hard things, or just not sugarcoating, not sweeping under the rug, and to get to this point of actual acceptance and like, hey, I love you, but I am not in that space now where we connected at that level. I have changed, or they have changed, and that's okay. And there is a mutual, amicable respect there to not even cut the ties, but just let it be. Let things be how they are. I had something I wanted to say, and it's gone out of my brain now, so that's fine. But I would love to know, Kasia, what would you say if there was a walnut listening who is sort of feeling like, I feel like I can't be myself. I feel like it's hard to sort of not even come out of a closet, or a spiritual closet, or any kind of closet, but just feels like they are living with glasses on and feeling like they are hiding a little bit for fear of other people, external things, and things like that. That's what I was going to say, where sometimes when you make the leap, the universe, I feel, kind of just plops a little reminder in there to go, are you sure? Like what you were saying, the example with your friend who said, respectfully, I can't. Sometimes the universe just loves to sort of just chuck a little test in and say, you've sort of declared this, but I'll just check if you're serious. That's what I wanted to sort of say.
Such a good point. Yeah.
Which I feel like you've gone through, and many of the walnuts listening probably do resonate with that too, when you sort of like, I'm going to do this, and then it's like, oh, here's an obstacle. You sure? But back to my question, sorry, I sidetracked. But what would you say to a walnut listening who feels alone, or like they can't really shine for whatever external reasons they may be, that might be struggling with that?
When you were asking this question, I actually asked the Akashic Masters what they have to say about this. And I like the answer, so I'm just going to share it with you the way they share it. When you look at a baby, brand new baby, right? It doesn't have any particular taste or likes or dislikes or preferences to hair colors or music or anything. It is pure love, right? It is like this clean slate.
Mm.
And anyone, it doesn't matter whether you're a baby person or not, but I believe when you see a baby, you can't help but smile and feel this immense love, because babies are the essence of a soul before the world starts to change them, right? They are this essence, this pure love. And each one of us is exactly that essence, embodiment of pure love. So often when we feel like we can't be ourselves, I believe it's not about, I like to have green hair, but my family doesn't like it, so I can't have it. Or, I love girls, but I can't share this with anyone, so I have to hold it in. That kind of. I think it's about love at the bottom, because when it's almost like you're scared to let it all out, not because people will judge you, but because it will emanate so much love, because that's who you really are, that pure essence, pure love. Whether you choose to put it into green hair or wearing black clothes, right? Or short skirts, that's just how you choose to channel this energy, because in your mind, this is the physical embodiment of this expression of love. So when we decide, I am going to stand here still and strong and firmly, being this embodiment of this pure love, like just like the baby, and allow people who want to get some of this love energy from me to come to me. But those who feel like, oh, this is too much, I can't handle this, and they turn away, be okay with it. And I think that's the key, to be okay that people may not like, not you, not your hair, not because you decided I love green hair, but because they can't handle this light that you're emanating. Because when you think about it, if you close your eyes now, so those walnuts that are feeling like, okay, this is me, I feel like I can't be myself. If you close your eyes for a moment and you think about, what does that mean to you? Is it, putting that love into, like I said, coloring your hair green and putting on dark makeup? Is it telling the world, hey, I love, girls or boys or cats? Whatever it is, how does that make you feel? If everyone was okay with it, if there was no one standing in the way and you could be truly, truly yourself the way you think you want to be. And I feel like that would fill your heart with joy and happiness and bliss. So if you feel this way, people will feel it. And this is the love that I'm talking about, that some won't be able to handle. Some won't be able to handle. And it's okay, because it's not their time. They have their own wounding. I even had a client whose family couldn't handle her life, because in every past life, they were part of this French Revolution, but on the opposite side. She was fighting for the people and they were part of the army. And so still now when they see her, she is too good, too pure, too much love. There's nothing that we can judge about her, but we have to, because she's such a Miss Goody Shoes, right? So I feel like really when you sit with yourself and you go like, wow, but it brings me so much joy to express myself, to be myself. And you just put it out there, because you're not doing it to harm anyone, right? You're just doing it because it's you. It's that love, and we're just channeling it into these different forms. So if you can do that, imagine how amazing the world would be. Like, we would just be standing on the shoulders of giants here.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the hardest part. We live in a world that is so busy, so clogged up, so full of stuff, so storm in a teapot, about silly things, about work, about money, about things. It's not often that we come back to a space of, what do I love? What do I genuinely feel like doing? Not because I saw it on my Instagram, or not because someone said, but me, by myself.
And that's the hardest bit. Yeah. So often when we say we can't be ourselves, it's because we don't know. We feel this love, but we don't know. And that's why I say, you know what? You just connect to the things that bring you love and joy and bliss. And it's hard. If you're a younger person, it's hard because you're told by your friends you should like this, or you should wear these clothes. But if you sit by yourself in a dark room and you close your eyes and you're like, okay, these clothes that my friends are saying I should be wearing to be part of whatever, does that bring me joy? Does that bring me that bliss? Does that make me feel happy? And if it's no, if it doesn't feel good, it's not for you. That's not you. That is the best way to decide, instead of trying to work out, well, if I wear this, I'm going to be popular, or I'm going to have this, or I'm going to have lots of friends, right? Just go, does it feel good? Does it feel good for you to express yourself through, I don't know, tattoos, right? Like, if it does, hello, do that. Who cares what everyone says? Who cares what you will look like when you're 80? There's going to be so many of us now, 80, with shriveled skins and tattoos. Like, it's going to be the norm. But one more thing they said, actually, Lara, is you don't want to get to a point in your life where you are too old, too sick, too far gone to the end of your life, where you go like, oh, damn it, I wish I had more time to express myself, to be myself, to go back and fix this and be more happy within myself. I think when you get to like my age, I always said, you know what, I've got a husband now, I don't care, like
Yeah.
he loves me, he has to love me, so I don't care. But when you get to my age, you really truly just don't care about how people perceive you, because I know I see them with love. I meet them with love, and I can see their pain, and I can see that when they say something hurtful to me, it's not me in particular that they're trying to hurt. They are reacting to something that I remind them of, perhaps something that
Yeah.
perhaps I do or said or didn't do or didn't say.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. My brother-in-law said just this morning, actually, in the car, sort of, which reminded me of it. We're talking about going to concerts, and he said, you never, or you rarely, really regret going to the concert, but what you do regret is not going or not buying the tickets, So just go for it and see where it sort of leads you. Kasia, now I have been lucky enough to already have had a spirit session with you, and it was so delicious, and I can't wait to watch my recording again. But to the walnuts listening who are immediately attracted to you and everything, what I was going to say, what are your offers? But where can walnuts find you essentially to connect with you further?
So I guess if you type in my name, which is not a very common name, I mean it is, but I guess not here so much, Kasia Bourke, you will find me anywhere. So I mean, if I had John Smith, I wouldn't tell you go and Google it, because you will probably come across a lot. But type in Kasia Bourke, you will find me mostly on Instagram. You will find me, I don't want to brag how many social media platforms I'm using, because it's embarrassing, but um the session that we did, it was special to me too, and that's a tiny session. My favorite session is when we get your soul's blueprints, like when we go and get your past lives, your um life lessons, whether you were a star seed, what kind of star seed, like all this stuff, because it paints this amazing deep picture, big picture of who you are. And even as I'm pre-channeling this, because there's so much information, I'm already like sitting with this photograph of this person, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm in awe of like who you are and what you've done, and you went through this, and this is what you do, and this is how you are here. And then we connect, and it's even more powerful because I can feel their energy, and it's just, I'm like, oh yeah, I can feel that so much.
Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. One of those has been on my bucket list. It's on the notes on my phone from like 2 years ago to get one of those. So I can't wait for my session, especially now that I've had a little taste tester. But Walnut, I will pop all the details to find this beautiful woman in the show notes for you if you want to connect further. But my divine angel, can you please let me know, is there anything left on your heart before we wrap up that you feel like you haven't shared, or that you would like to let a walnut listening know, or any last little tidbits from you?
The way you said that, oh, I get goosebumps.
Oh,
um, I I think this was so juicy, so beautiful. I think if I can say one last thing is to, if you don't know what to do, if you don't know whether you are intuitive or not intuitive, or what your intuition is, or what is right, what is wrong, or who you are, close your eyes, put your hand on your heart so that you can anchor yourself into your heart, and just ask, is this my bliss and happiness? Does this make me feel blissful and happy? And I promise you, if you follow that, which is, in my opinion, your way to go through life intuitively, the way you are supposed to go here to have the best human experience, you will never be on a wrong path. You will never feel out of alignment. You will never be searching for any meaning or purpose. You will always just have this northern star of bliss and happiness, and it will guide you to all these beautiful, beautiful experiences.
I love that. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes. And I totally agree. And I absolutely agree. I do have a final question that I ask to all my guests on the podcast, which I think ties in really nicely to what you've just said. But what does being a walnut mean to you?
Hmm. So, speaking of being your authentic self, walnuts were always actually my favorite nut, and that's because where I grew up, they were quite exotic, so it wasn't very common that you would have them. But I also love them because every time when you crack open that shell, there was always a beautiful nut there, and it was delicious. It had so many memories connecting me to like Christmas and, family. And unlike many other nuts, it doesn't pretend, like the peanut, to be a legume. It's a nut. A walnut is a nut, and that's exactly what I feel ties in all this stuff that you do, your work, and our topic today, being authentically yourself, is being that walnut, not a peanut, not a peanut that pretends to be a legume, but a walnut.
Oh my gosh. I'm just Walnut, if you're not watching this episode, I'm just like dork grinning. I love that so much. Thank you, Kasia. Oh, I feel like we could talk forever. I have more questions, so maybe we'll have to have a round two one day. But thank you very much for your time. And yeah, Walnut, thank you for your time as well for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed it, take a little screeny shot and share and tag us and connect with us. I'm sure I can speak on behalf of both of us that we love to hear from you and work with you and be in service for you as well. And Kasia, thank you so much. Thank you so, so much for this bucket list episode of mine. It's been such a pleasure. And thank you for all you do in the world. You are just a delicious, divine, beautiful little angel. And I'm so happy to have connected with you and to have had this opportunity to chat with you about your work. So thank you as well.
Thank you, Lauren. You are so kind to me. Oh, just beautiful. Thank you, beautiful being. And thank you for having me on your podcast.
Have a happy, happy Walnut Wednesday, and I will talk to you next week. Bye.